So here we have the last of Mose Hutchins' stories, right? From the Chinook Jargon Texts collection. It's The Origin of Death, originally told in Southern dialect at Grand Ronde or by a Grand Ronde, Oregon community member. And I have put that into the Northern dialect, a more BC way of talking this language. And it starts out with Alta Naika Siatsam Sawash Yayim Kupachinukwawa. Alta Naika Siatsam Sawash Yayim Kupachinukwawa. So that means, now I'll tell an Indian story in Chinook talk. Alta is now I tell, that's a BC word, Indian story in Chinook talk. Alta Naika Siatsam Sawash Yayim Kupachinukwawa.
In another dialect, would it be like a econom?
Yeah, normally in the original Southern dialect, you'd have Iganum instead of Yayim.
So econom is actually a verb then.
Iganum is usually a noun.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yayim can be both a noun and a verb.
Yeah.
This can be tell a story, or it can be a story, Yayim.
So the other way to do it was Alta Naika Yayim Sawash Econom Kopashinukwawa. Would that also be?
Tled, Kako Magawawa. Yes, just as you say. There are a lot of ways to say that sentence because there are different ways to, different words for to say or to tell a story or to inform people. I suppose since you bring it up, I'll tell you one more. Instead of the verb siatsam or the generic word wawa, to talk or tell, you could say momuk kumtux, which is literally to make people know things. That's another way to express telling or informing. Momuk kumtux. The next sentence here, the start of paragraph 2 in this short story, I have rain on my list to tackle
that. Coyote P. Lilu Klaska Midlight. Ich Klaska House. Halo Late Saya Klaska Midlight. Coyote and wolf. They live. It is Klaska house, their house. I'm not sure what that it is though. Can you help me with that, Dave?
So that's, you might think of it as one, right? The literal meaning is one,
right.
You might think of it as one by one or side by side.
Oh, side by side, their houses. Okay. Yeah, okay. Coyote and wolf, they live side by side, their houses. Halo late Saya Klaska midlight. Not very far they live. Or not very far apart they live?
Yeah. Yeah. You got the implication of that, I think, just perfect.
Okay.
Got the pitch of it. Yep. And so coyote, I'll highlight word by word again. Coyote or coyote and wolf, they lived there. One, their house or houses, not really far, they lived. apart, lived there. So coyote and wolf, they were living icht icht, side by side, and again that's literally one. Side by side, their houses were not really far or far apart. They lived. You guys can see a little bit of the the difference between an English sentence and a Chinook sentence. You got some subjects left until the end of the sentence sometimes, like this last bit, right? Not far apart did they live. And side by side, their houses were.
Just out of curiosity, what would one be saying if one were saying Kanamuk's Klaska house?
I think one would say what you say.
Okay, so
That's great jargon. Yeah.
But would it work here in this that the houses were together?
Mm-hmm.
Dave, isn't the coyote talipus, or is that shouldn't that be talipus?
Yeah, so in the original of the Southern dialect, the word for coyote was talipus, with a popping T sound at the beginning, talipus. But that's a word we hardly find in Northern dialect. In BC, I've almost only found coyote. And there's a nice little bit of history involved in all of that. The Chinookwawa came to BC later. It was brought up from the southern dialect area. And let's just say it was brought mainly by speakers of English. And at that time, kind of around 1850, English speakers really had not yet settled on a word for this animal. They'd call it the prairie wolf or the little wolf, among other things. Some of you have read some historical stuff. You might be able to throw in some more synonyms that you've seen, because there were lots of them. But as it happens, yeah, BC had a fair amount of Mexican Spanish that people used, sort of cowboy Spanish and horsepecker Spanish. And that's where this coyote came in. Coyote. So, long story short, BC wound up with this pretty unique word in its Chinookwawa for the animal. Folks just kind of the folks who brought Chinookwawa up north to BC at that time weren't really sure what a talipus was anyway in this language. So they didn't feel confident using that word, but they wound up encountering plenty of coyotes in BC, so they had to talk about them some way.
Okay.
Another, cowboy Spanish word in BC jargon, by the way, would be the word for a mule. That'd be mula or mulo. We've seen both of them, and that's, a female or a male mule. Mula or mulo. So that's interesting. And that's some of the only Spanish you'll find in the jargon is in BC.
And I guess that's where the cayuse came from as well then?
Not that I know. I think cayuse was named for this tribe in northeastern Oregon.
Oh.
Cayuse being a word for a pony, right?
I assumed that was Spanish, cayuse.
Yeah, that has been said, and I can't shoot that down. You know, just to be honest with you,
I don't know
could
one
be
way or
could
the
from
other.
caballos in Spanish, which means
Okay.
horses. That is a possibility. But for that matter, you know, cayuse would be a perfectly okay Salish word, meaning like spotted faces, which would exactly match, you know, the kind of horses that the Cayuse and Nez Perce people famously had, you know, the Appaloosa horses. Yeah. Let me see. On my list here, I have Norbert next for a sentence.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll get something interesting in this sentence. Allerlilu mich leid tenas, Coyote wird mich leid tenas. And I was just thinking that this was the first time I saw mich leid tenas. I think that means then the wolf was with cubs, you know, was with the young ones, or had young ones. And the coyote, he or she also had children or had young ones.
Mm-hmm. So here's an interesting point for everybody. We don't know how many children, how many Danas are being talked about for each of these characters. Jargon hardly ever, you know, specifies if a noun is like plural or a singular. So Danas can mean children or child. Very briefly, would it work? I don't know. Better in some way if I capitalize these as character names. In traditional stories, it's not always made clear that something is considered a name. Some of the languages, you know, like the Yakima, Sahatin, and so on, have a kind of a special form of the animal word when it's a character in the story. Jargon doesn't, but we could capitalize if we want to consider them as characters. Maybe.
I think that's good for learners. I actually do that when I teach Japanese too, because Japanese doesn't have, you know, a, the, or anything, and you say, you know, it's just the same. You say like cat went, and you can just pretend that cat is the name of the cat, and it makes it a lot easier to learn. But I don't know, because you know, jargon normally doesn't really have capital letters and stuff. I think maybe it would be easier if you just had a explanation of, like, it's easier to think of it as a character name, and you just have a note somewhere.
Yeah.
There would just be the risk that someone assumes that they were people. But I assume that this text talks about sort of fairy tale characters, and this is mythical animals in a mythical past. So that was basically one mythical ancestor wolf or something.
Yeah, some of that seems open to interpretation to me. You know, how to take these. I don't want to prejudice people towards, you know, one interpretation or another. I do want to help learners, you know, just kind of track characters. I suppose, yeah.
I made an assumption here too. Like, I mean, I understand what yeah, wolves and coyotes usually have a bunch of little ones. I was thinking that, well, if there was more than one, they would have said the Lilu had, muxt or luckit or some kind of number of little ones.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. In some of these stories, traditionally, we might expect to see, 4 children or 5 children, one of the story numbers. Well, for the moment, we could say, now Wolf had child or children, and Coyote, he pretty often, well, let me say, most of the time, it comes across that Coyote is male. So I'm saying he, because of things that Coyote does, which I won't go into. He also had child. So yeah. Now Wolf had a child, and Coyote, he also had a child. I think there might have been something else I was gonna comment on there, but.
And Lilu is the French word for wolf.
Lilu, yeah, Lilu, from French le loup, and it's from particularly again, it's from the way people spoke in real life. So it was kind of more like le loup in Canadian French that influenced the le loup or le loup, and so we wind up saying Lilu. I guess what I was going to add is in stories all over the Northwest, including this one, very, very often you'll find coyote and wolf together. They're partnered up, and one of them sometimes seems to make up for the mistakes made by the other one. So we'll see what happens here. Sam, I have the next sentence here for you.
Okay, Alta okok lilu yakatanas chakosik, Alta yakamimlus. So now this wolf, children become sick. Now he dies.
So here we have a clue that it's just one child, because there's this yaka, which usually is singular, it just usually means he or she. So yeah, then that wolf, his child, became sick, choco sick, then he or she, the child, died. Alta okok lilu yakatanas chakosik, alta yakamimius. And, well, let's see here. This gets pretty long. I want to break this up this way, and I have Nicola next.
Alta, Lilu, Yaka, Laroa, Kopa, Ok, Coyote. Yaka, Wawa, Kopa, Ok, Coyote. Then the wolf, I'm not even sure how to pronounce the Laroa. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what does this word mean?
Go.
Go. So then the wolf, he maybe went in, or just that coyote. How are we using copa here?
2.
2. So then he went to the coyote. He said to the coyote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a confusing sentence for me.
Okay, finish my note over here about something else. So yeah, then Wolf, he went to, Copa is used for just about every kind of preposition in English, every kind of relation in space.
Yeah.
So on, into, uh, and then kind of extending out from there. It can be about or for. So anyway, here he went to that coyote. He, you notice there's no and here. A lot of times in this language, there's no and
Mhm.
joining things together, but you can kind of think of it, and he said to that coyote
Okay.
the following stuff. I want to join things this way and ask Sequoia to do this chunk right here.
Okay. Kara Mike Tomtom spells Alta Nisaika Mamuk. So, what do you think about if we make it so that blah 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 blah?
Yeah, I did some editing this morning. I changed things a little from what you guys had from me earlier in the week, and I'm differing with Melville Jacobs also. It just seems to me so much simpler and more clear if I change the pronunciation, or sorry, the punctuation really, and so forth. So this here, even though Melville Jacobs kind of divided it into subsections with his little 2 in parentheses, I think this right here in blue on your screen is one thing. So how you think if now we do, suppose doesn't have to mean if. It can be more of any hypothetical action. And this would also be the way in jargon to say, how do you think, for us to do? In other words, Kata Micah Dum Dum, what's your opinion if now we do such and such? So what do you think about us maybe doing? And trying to make sure I get across what I have inside of my head here. How do you think we should do now? How do you think that now we do? How do you think we should do? This is a little bit similar. This is reminding me of taking French class or Spanish class or German class also. Suppose is basically making a subjunctive verb. Remember that those were very hard for us English speakers to get a handle on. But it's a good comparison, How do you think we ought to do? Suppose the second model. Subjunctive, we do. I'm not sure I can make that much more clear by yakking about it. It's the kind of thing that maybe you need to see more of. It's a real thing in jargon. There's plenty of examples of this kind of thing. I also changed the punctuation, divisions, and all this for the rest of the sentence. Let me see here. I guess this comes around to me on the list. Spostilicum mimulus Slaska Chaco Elabai Buenum San. Spostelica Mimulus, Slaska Chaco Elabai Buenum San. So suppose here is you can understand it as sort of when or if a person or people die, they come return. So that's come back in 5 days. Day is a sun. Spostelica Mimulus, Slaska Chaco Elabai Buenum San. Yeah, so what do you think how do you think we should do? And then there's this proposal. If people die, they'll come back in 5 days. And there's your story number that we were talking about. You'll often see the number 5 used for all kinds of stuff in traditional stories. Let's see, Rain, how about this here?
Excuse me. Check. Alta Kayuti Yakawawa Halo. Then Coyote, he said no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Coyote continues, Norbert.
Spoustilicum mimulus archiaca mimulus spousquanisum. If a person dies, or if people die, later they are dead always. They're always dead. They remain dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this sentence when we were looking up something else, when I was looking for spousquanism in one session.
Mm-hmm.
And the Grand Ron dictionary has that very sentence.
Yeah. 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 Aside from Grand Ronde, the place where I mostly see the kind of Spusquanism or Busquanism pronunciation of it is kind of Christian material that's in the Kembitswa newspaper. You have this forever and ever amen kind of stuff that Christians are always talking about. And that comes out as Spusquanism, in jargon.
Here it's interesting that mimulus is really all the forms of the verb die, dying, and so on, but it's also the adjective, and be dead.
Dead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. In the sentence, you kind of have both usages. That's right. So if a person dies, then in the future, achte, she or he is dead for always, forever. Yeah, you can get both kind of readings of that word in the sentence. Let's see, the rest of Coyote's opinion here, Sam.
So not again in the future they come back. They'll never come back again.
Right. You could almost kind of join these first two words together with a dash. Heluach, never again, not again. In the future, ashke, they return, come back. So yeah, never again will they return. So that's what Coyote's saying. He was asked for his opinion. He said that
I don't know about the rest,
in
but I think hello what would be, it would be help for my comprehension to have that.
the dash.
I think so. I don't know what the others think.
Like this. Let's try that. Yeah, and there's Coyote's opinion, you know, period. Of course, in traditional stories, Coyote always, you know, has a tendency to do one thing and then wish he hadn't done it. Let's see here. Nicola here.
Kakwa Yakawawa Kayuti Kopa Nilu. Kakwa. I'm not sure what Kakwa is.
Like that.
Like that, he said coyote to the wolf. So like that, he said that to the wolf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thus he said coyote to wolf. And you always, you know, when you're translating any languages, you can always kind of step back and just tell people the general idea of what was just said. You can put it in your own real way of talking. And for me, it'd be, you know, that's what Coyote said to the wolf.
Thank you.
And Sequoia here.
Alta oko Coyote Yakatenas Chakosik Alta Yakamimulus. Then Coyote's kid got sick and died.
Mm-hmm. Of course, wouldn't you know? Now that Coyote, his child, became sick, now or then, she or he died. And Rain.
Alta Coyote Yaka Klatoa Kopa Lilu Yaka Wawa Yaka. Then Coyote, he went to the wolf. He said to him,
Yaka Wawa Yaka. Yeah, he said him is a real normal way for jargon to express this kind of stuff. You don't have to do like English with a preposition, right? Say it said to him, which would be Wawa Kopa Yaka. That's fine to say that, but in jargon, you know, it's quicker, easier, and it's common just to say Yaka Wawa Yaka. He said to him.
So it's still correct to say Yaka Wawa Kopa Yaka.
Yeah, both are okay. Both are okay. And let's see here, Norbert.
Lulu. That's an exclamation. Lulu. Kadamaiga dum dum. So wolf. What do you think? What is your opinion?
Yeah, that's the idea. And literally, wolf. Okay, that's wolf. Wolf, how you think,
you heart.
or how is your heart? Very indigenous way of putting things. Dum-dum means both your heart, you know, your feelings. It also means the verb to think and so forth. And let's see, I have Sam to finish up Coyote's quotation.
Alta spustilica mimlus, algi klaska chaco tilipai kopa quinamsan. Alta, now if the people die in the future, they will come back on the 5th day.
Mm-hmm. It's a repetition of what we had before. Now, if people die in the future, they come back in 5 days. Let's see here. Nicola.
Alta ilu yakawawa. Naikawawa maika ankati kakwa. Then the wolf, he said, I said you. I said and you. I'm not too sure with the last one.
This is another example, by the way, of saying to somebody. Naikawawa maika.
I said to you.
I said to you. Ankati is another time word that's in the past.
Oh yeah, it wasn't the recent past.
This is actually the far past or indefinite past.
So very long ago, in the past, in Kakwa.
And here's that kakwa again, just for you.
Past like this.
Like that, like this, yeah.
Past like that. I said to
Yeah.
you long ago like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, long ago. It's kind of basically the idea of already, right? Geez, I already,
Said that.
talk to you about that.
Yeah, what's the tone right now with the wolf? Is he mad?
Well,
That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's like I said to you in the past already. Like, don't you already know, kind of thing?
That sounds exasperated to me, yeah. And of course, Coyote can be expected to be this irritating screw up. Don't take my word for it. Read more, hear more Coyote stories. Okay, so that's great. Let me see, Sequoia, you want this much to work on. I just have a feeling.
Okay. Pimaikawawa, Halo Kakwa, Alki, Spos Teleka Mimulus, Alkiaka Mimulus Quantum. And you say, let's see, what did you say up here? I need to reread.
Yeah, so this is still Wolf talking to Coyote.
And you said, no way, it's not going to be like that. If people die, they're going to stay dead forever.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, word by word, briefly. And you said not like that in the future. And it's not going to be like that. If a person dies in the future, she or he is dead always. And gosh, this comes around to me and we're almost done. Okay. Wake kata alta nisaka mamu kloima ogok. Wake kata alta nisaka mamu kloima ogok. We can't change it now. Wake is not, kata is how. Put them together, it's not how. It becomes cannot, impossible. Now we make different, mamuk kloima, so that's to change this. lot of times this word for this or that here, okok, which can also be those or these in English. A lot of times though, it winds up just meaning it. And so pretty clear, you know, Wolf is like, hey, we already talked about this. We already agreed, even though I didn't want it to be this way. We can't change it now. As in these stories, you know, stuff is worked out to be a certain way forever. And yeah. Rain, how about this 3-word sentence here?
Klush Quanasum Kakwa.
Amen.
What, amen? This Klush Quanasum Kakwa. Good like this forever. Good forever like this.
Good always like that. Good always
Okay.
like this. And yeah, in Christian speech, you know, in Chinokwawa, this is how you say amen.
Good.
This is at the end of a ton of prayers. Tlushquanasum kakwa. Tlushquanasum kakwa. Tlush, not just literally meaning good, but you know, can be like expressing your wish for things to be a certain way. So let it always be thus. And after rain, we have Norbert.
Spos tilicum mimalus hiasca mimalus spos quanasum. Yeah, we already had that.
Yeah, this is a repetition.
This is just emphasized, right? If somebody dies, they are forever dead.
Mm-hmm. And Sam.
Kopit kakwa alta okot sawash yayim. That is this Indian story. Kopit kakwa, the end. It's the end of that.
Yeah, I could put a dash in here. I felt like it's not completely needed because taking the literal meaning of each word one after the other, it still gets you the understanding. Kopit is only or just like that. Now, this Indian story, right? Just like that now is this Indian story. And again, that's not quite how we would talk in English. So stepping back and not focusing so close on the details, it'd be like, yeah, that's all there is of this Indian story. And lucky Nicola gets to wind up with this sentence.
Monas, Halo, Let, Kanaway, Nika, Yayim. I'm not sure about the first one.
Maybe.
Maybe not far away, I say. Let and Kanaway. What can we...
So Dlet is our Canadian French word dret for right.
Okay. So it's not, okay. Maybe not right.
Right or really.
Really kind of way.
Conway is all.
Maybe not right all. It's like I said in the story.
Yeah. I wrestled with various opinions about putting dashes in. Maybe we could think of this as having a dash in it to make a single chunk. Glet Conway, really all.
Really all. It's like I
Yeah.
said,
So
almost.
maybe not really all
All
of it
of
have
it.
I told.
Maybe like okay, told. Maybe not all of this I've told.
Yeah, not quite all. Yeah, something like that.
Well, who's
So that's a common thing for us to find at the end of these stories.
oh yes. It's like maybe I've heard, right?
Uh-huh.
Maybe this is all I know.
Like that's, how I heard it, and that's the best I can tell it.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Classic, 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 classic indigenous way to tell stories. I say that not as an indigenous person, but just, man, I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these sentences are a kind of classic way to wind things up. Hey, that's all I got for you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I didn't
I,
tell it right. What do you think about it?
Yeah.
I would argue that hyphen there between the let and Conaway isn't needed. Perhaps not true all I say or all I tell.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's, with the kind of appropriate, what do you say, kind of tone of voice, the contour of intonation, maybe a little pause. That's completely legit. Like if we do this, put a comma in there. Sorry, I'm distracted by an alarm going off over here. Uh, so yeah, with like a comma here, that'd be absolutely clear that that meaning would be intended, would be appropriate. Because let can mean so many different things, right? It can mean true or right, as in correct. So maybe it's not correct, all that I've said, Kanui Naika Yayan, all that I've told.
I think that was the original meaning, what I took from that originally when I read it
Yeah.
first time. I thought he meant to say, maybe I haven't told all of it correctly. Maybe not all I've told is exactly
Yeah.
correct. Right?
Yeah, and I recall this sentence specifically. My friends down at Grand Rod, like Henry, have really wrestled with the sentence, right, based on how Melville Jacobs, the linguist, wrote it down from Mose Hudson. They felt a little unclear about the exact intention of the sentence. Like we have it generally, though. Yeah, there's something about, hey, don't totally take my word for every detail. Is the idea, which again we know is really a pattern in indigenous storytelling.
Mm.
So
It's a bit as if somebody just asked me, okay, tell me Little Red Riding Hood. Tell me right now without looking it up. Just tell me
yeah,
Little Red Riding Hood or Sleeping Beauty. Then at the end, I might say, well, maybe I haven't told the whole story correctly.
yeah, you probably would. Most of us don't know all of the kind of canonical, commonly recognized elements of a particular story, and we probably would leave out little parts of it, which is exactly what you see in kind of let me see, do I have this book to show to the camera? Habu by Vi Hilbert. There. Yeah, these are stories from like Lushootseed speaking people around Puget Sound, Lushootseed Salish people, and many times you'll see 3-4 different people telling the same story in this book, and it'll be pretty clear. One person has certain details that they that are really vivid for them, They might leave out some stuff that other people put in. Not to mention people embellish a story, right? If they're a skillful teller, they'll add in some colorful stuff that nobody else would put in. So yeah, there you go. So that's the idea. Make of it what you will. And that last sentence is a nice example, just grammatically, of this idea. You know, make of that sentence what you will. There you go. I think that's the top of the hour.
That is the top of the hour, yes. Anybody have any words of wisdom for the group?
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, aside from you, David, I mean, it's...
Hayumasi, Hayumasi.
Okay, I'll do a translation of this and, you know, once again, throw in a few notes to send out to you guys.
As always, thank you very much, David. As always, everybody stay strong. We'll see you all in what, 7 suns time?
All right.
Okay.
Kamala Santi. Kamala Santi.
Lahayam.
Okay.
Lahayam.
Thank you.